Hello, my little dolls. So, this video is going to be separated into two parts. The first part is going to be me giving a bit more of a catch-up for any girls who don't necessarily want to listen to a male for female series. The second part of the video is going to be me more explaining certain creative decisions, and perhaps pointing out certain things that you may have otherwise missed. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's start a little bit of a, review of our cute little story. For those who are unaware, you start this story as a weak, small, little dorky kid in middle school. You come out as gay, and unfortunately, three people decide to make that a problem. You get hit in the face really hard by one of them, and it dents your glasses. Keep this in mind, this will be quite important as a plot point in later acts. You got, however, protected by one large fellow, named Leo, you will later learn, a man with a malevolent sort of reputation. After all, this was a boy who had already started hitting people inside the groin area. You later learned that the whole reason for such was, well, it made it easier to protect others. Few people which are stronger than him, well, he had to take care of such an issue so that way the victims could run away. With this background information, and both of you being aware that the school would do nothing about these type of incidents, well, the boy took you towards a library, one of the generally safe areas. There, both you and he made a deal. He would tell you and give you some tips about how to, well, grow stronger. He'd also do his best to make sure that no one was trying to mess with you when they weren't already patrolling the rest of school to make sure no issues occurred elsewhere. In return, you would go over and do something silly. You would go over and explain a certain book to him. Quite unfair trade, but it worked for you too. A little less than a week later, well, you would find your stalwart protector beaten and almost broken inside the library. You would come to find out that the ones who had originally bullied you, since he called one of them gay to try and get them to back off, which incidentally did work, well, they took offense to such a statement, and the father hired two high schoolers to beat him up. There you more learnt his motivation to protect others. He knew what it was like to get beaten. He knew what it was like to wish for somebody to save you, and for there to be no one that would come. And he decided, when he grew stronger, to make sure that, well, if he could prevent it with the body of a bruiser that he so despised, perhaps he could put it to good use, and stop others from experiencing such tragedy. Seeing this pure expression, you felt motivated even more to grow stronger. After all, something like that should be protected, no? So, you had a new goal in growing stronger. Not only to go over and defend yourself from bigots, but to also protect this little boy who was, well, quite nice about you being gay. You both would be, you could say, each other's platonic protector. However, you trained yourself quite hard over the summer. You also had a bit of a growth spurt. You are almost as tall as the boy now. And you learned that there was some bet the boy now had with his family. Apparently he had to have a high score in multiple different grades, and for, well, the school being stupid, he had bad marks in 2 grades. With your help, however, he was able to excel in these classes. On the other front of things, you wanted to, well, go on patrol with him, as he called it, to venture the halls for bullying and put a stop to it, most of the time violently. However, he had a requirement before you were able to join him. You had to beat him in a spa, and, unfortunately for you, that would take quite some time. It wouldn't be until the final day of school on that year that you were able to best him, And, with joy, you took her on towards on that last day patrolling. There were luckily no incidents. The day after, you visited your favorite library with him, and you would learn that they did, in fact, win the bet. However, your old friend would have to leave if they wanted to catch in on that bet. They were unable to tell you what that bet was, but you could tell that they were very obviously distressed. And even more so in the fact that they didn't have the power to tell you. You gave your friend the ability to leave. And while they kept trying to say that they didn't want to put the burden of you being a protector on others, well, you pointed out that they were doing that already. You had the choice to act the exact same way as they did before. And that was enough. You spent a few more days with your friend over at the library. And one day, your friend wasn't able to come again. You waited one more, and they never showed up again. You understood that their family had already moved, and you both had made a promise before he left that you would see each other again, but would a promise like that truly come to pass? Well, why don't we see with the rest of our little story? And that section, one finished. I hope it came out alright. I am very sick when I'm recording this, so apologies in case that it sounds a little bit weird sometimes, or my wording's a little off. That's the reason why I am kind of sick. But with that out of the way, I want to go over a little bit of the story. For those who don't look at comment sections, uh, who may assume that the entire fighting that more happened, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna actively seek out bullies so I can fight them and protect other people. And you think that's a little unrealistic? I am quite sorry to inform you that that's what I did when I was a kid. A lot of the parts on this part of the story, oh God, you can tell I'm sick because like I am messing up wording a lot. That's happening a lot. My head is not the best right now, but I'll power through because I want to get a recording done. um, but a lot of the sections of the story are inspired by parts of my life, especially in middle school. Now, the whole patrolling thing, this is more going to be targeted towards people who listened towards the male for female sections. So if certain things seem a little bit out of sense from what I more described, I'm sorry, it's because I'm more talking about directly the entire thing instead of the summary. But the whole patrolling on the inside thing is actually inspired by the events I more went through, but I didn't do that. I wasn't able to more patrol the inside of the halls. We could only patrol outside on recess. Unfortunately, I was really good at my job that I assigned myself. I stopped a lot of bullying incidents and I got into a lot of fights. And I was able to stop a lot of bullying from happening. However, I was so good at what I was doing apparently that they moved the bullying inside somehow. I still don't know how they did it, but I was later informed that, while recess was generally pretty good and I wasn't that many bullies, there was only like one or two, a lot more bullying incidents still happened that I couldn't stop because that they were inside. And I couldn't really go inside. You have to get out for recess. So, there was a lot of people I couldn't help due to that. So, in this story, I fixed that little flaw in my own plan. Also, the thing about the teachers not, patrolling the area is directly more inspired by my school. Without giving too much details about the place I live, um, the area that I was in had multiple trees that were around the area. There was one big play area that was near the school, and there was two things that were outside the school. The first one was a big dirt mound, and as one can expect, many a times people took people there to beat them up, and the teachers never went to go check. The second place is that there was a gravel road on the outside of the entire area, and on some parts of that road, walkway, there were other trees there, which blocked the vision on both sides of things for the teachers, which again were very far away, only at the play area. So people went there quite often to go fight as well. And that's without even counting winter and people making forts, just specifically to later put people in that area to beat them up. My middle school was so weird. Um, though I did stay there for probably what people would count into high school. So a lot of that information is directly there. Second part, you may think that the motivation for stopping people seems a little bit too pure, and I feel a little like weird saying this, but like that's my motivation for why I was stopping people back then when I was a kid. It was literally just more like, yeah, I've been hurt by people, so like I don't want other people to hurt, and hurting people is bad. So I want to save people from being hurt. And I got a better body, I got a stronger body, and I want to be a gentleman. So I want to save people because that's what good people do. Um, so I toned down that actually a little bit from how I was a kid to how I more help people nowadays, which is like, I've been through some shit. So I more use my current motivation instead of my child motivation to more make it like hit a stronger note. um, Other than that, you may have noticed that in one section of the videos, there's more of a feminine voice. That wasn't 100% intentional, but later on I kept it in the video because it does serve a purpose. And that is, the character when they sound stressed starts sounding feminine. I wonder what that could be pointing to, huh? Huh? That maybe when they're so stressed out that maybe they can't keep their voice from going into certain areas that they more naturally go into. I wonder how many people caught that actually. um, with that out of the way, there's the fourth episode. And I kind of more inspired this, well, not fourth. I don't remember the amount of numbers right now, shit. The last part, I more got inspired by anime for that section. I wanted to more have a passing of the torch moment and how to best more represent that inside reality. And that is going to be a tad bit important going forward about like why the listener is doing things that they're going to be doing. And that's it. It's on the last day had a more impact towards it. And then I could more start the final part having a bit more of a happier start to more, make sure the gut punch about all the depresso shit and angst more hit you even harder. Which apparently you fucking masochists love. So hey, I am not concerned for my audience whatsoever. If somebody's holding a knife to your neck, please just blink in the comment section. I'll try and find a way to help. Anyway, the listener character also got more inspired because I know certain people actually do get inspired by my motivation sometimes. I um also more agree with the character that I don't think it's a big deal, but I do understand that that has happened multiple times that people are more like, "Oh, you're a really good person," or "That's super inspiring." And I find that kind of weird because I don't think of it that way, but I know other people do, which is why I made a plot point in this story. um Now with all that out of the way, the final little parts about it is I added a lot of little moments that you can more tell the character is more dysphoric. Um, Especially with how they talk about their body or the pain that they're going through, stemming out of the stuff. And the last part, which I didn't originally intend when I was making the story, was like, I need to more have a reason for why the character and the listener don't really speak to each other. Why is there a differential thing that happened? And the main thing that I more thought of is like, oh, the parents aren't stepping in on the bullying thing. Why don't I make the parents kind of assholes in a kind of way that you can understand, where they won't really affect the plot too much, but you can understand why they're not engaging in anything that more happens to their child. And that's why I got more of the twisted philosophy that's more presented by the parents. That was something I added after I more had the idea of making the series. Anyway, with all that out of the way, I hope everyone enjoyed more of this little silly series. And I hope that you'll join me for the rest of the parts going forward. Also, last little bit, some people won't really be able to tell this because I don't know in case I made a note in any of my previous videos. I was originally more going to be doing a 3-act structure. But then I thought about the one part that the impact video from Virtues and Villainy, a lot of girls really like the angst from that one. So I'm like, I should probably make this be an actual decision that the community can more make. So on Twitter, I made a poll for people more to vote in case Act 3 would be angst or not. And, people decided that that's going to be really angst. And that forced me to go like, oh shit, I didn't think that they'd actually do that. So I had to go back to the drawing board to figure out, okay, what can I more do with the story that I have set up for Act 1 and Act 2 that I can more easily more put in as like, oh, this is a thing that happens. With a warning, the main thing that's going to happen going forward is the listener is going to be an asshole in Act 3. And then the makeup is going to be happening in Act 4. And like the rekindling and everything. Which is why this series is having an, well, Act 4 to it. Because I myself do not like my stories being super fucking edgy and sad. So I'm gonna be putting that as a thing. And you can thank me because you don't even know, dolls, how fucking edgy I'm gonna make this. How much fucking suffering and angst you're gonna go through. I'm half really surprised. But don't worry, I'll make sure you cry. And then afterwards, you get the aftercare by, having the wholesome relationship go over and blossom into an actual, like, relationship. Um, so, I'm a good domina. I'm a good one. But anyway, I think that's all I really have for this video. So I'm going to start editing this video shortly. And bye-bye. I hope that you girls really enjoyed Act 1. Oh, final thing. To anyone who more wants to, can you go over and say what you liked about this act? I know we asked in the previous more comment section for people to more say what was their favorite part, but is there anything in general that you can think of that you more like the vibe or something? I like getting feedback so I know what to do in future audios, and depending on the feedback, I may add certain parts to the rest of the series, so think fast, eh? Anyway, bye-bye for now, for real this time.